Previously on this run.
Total obliteration of Adosa! Total annihilation!
Hello. Just so we haven't forgotten what the rules are, here they are now. For the full read of the rules and the full run experience, check out part 1. The link is down below. Before we start though, if you like the content, be sure to sub and hit the bell for the algo. I'll leave a roast as usual. I highly anticipate those as well. For those of you still wondering, what's the point of this easy breezy run? Well, it's still the same like the Johto part. It's to use Pokemon that I wouldn't use in a normal run. Now then, back into Johto we go. After the total annihilation of Lance, we found ourselves back in our house in Newbark Town. Our mother greeted us downstairs with a message from Professor Elm. We were given the SS ticket, enabling us to journey on to Kanto where more challenges await us and our Poke buddies. Before we could move on though, we had to box our friend King Dodo, where he would rest with Machadodo in heaven. Rest well, King Dodo. Over at the Olivine Harbor, Professor Oak found us and gave us the National Dex. He had a talk show to attend to at Goldenrod, so we made our way to the SS Aqua. At the ship itself, we were notified of a missing granddaughter. We really had nothing better to do, so we found a tiny menace at the captain's room, terrorizing the poor old man. She then forced us to play hide and seek, but she kinda sucked, so we found her in a heartbeat. We returned the girl to the grandpa and received the metal coat. It's kind of useless now, but thank you, I guess. Upon arriving in Kanto, we immediately went to the game corner in Celadon City and bought a Porygon with our leftover coins. This acquisition doesn't actually prompt any input for a nickname, so I forgot about naming this Porygon until a bit later. In any case, we got this pretty good Porygon. We had to challenge the lowest level gym leader in Kanto first, so we made our way to Fuchsia City and challenged Janine. Janine, much like her father in the Johto Elite Four, was a total pushover. A choice scarf-equipped Aladodo spared no survivors, leaving all her poison types in the dust. With this, we acquired our first Kanto gym badge. In the midst of my confusion about the gym order, I went to Sylph Co in Saffron City and picked up an upgrade. This would later be used on the Porygon. We couldn't do much in terms of new Pokemon at this point, so we went ahead and challenged Lieutenant Surge at the Vermilion Gym. I had Geododo leading the pack and was honestly a bit nervous heading into this fight. I had a lot of questions. What if the Magneton survives on its 30 and hits a mirror shot? What happens if the Electabuzz hits a low kick? But my fears were proven wrong, as it was another clean sweep much like the Janine fight. Geododo pretty much spammed Earthquakes until there was nothing left. The Magneton did miss its mirror shot to be fair, so I got pretty lucky. The Electabuzz also didn't go for the low kick and went for a light screen instead. Not sure what was going on here. Nevertheless, we won our second Kanto badge and moved on. We slapped the upgrade on the still nameless Porygon and leveled it up, evolving it into a Porygon 2. Believe it or not, I still haven't realized this Porygon was without a name at this point. After the evolution, I went to Saffron City to challenge Sabrina, and this was when I realized Porygon 2 didn't have a nickname yet. Sabrina let her Espeon, and I let this nameless entity. The Espeon was faster and went for a Calm Mind, meaning his special defense also received a boost. Nameless hit a Signal Beam, which left the Espeon's health in the orange. The next turn, Sabrina went for this chunky Psychic, which almost killed Nameless in one shot. Thankfully it survived, and ended the Espeon with another Signal Beam. Sabrina sent out her female Mr. Mime next, and I switched to Psydodo. Psydodo got hit with the Psychic on the switch-in, which took about a fifth of her health. The Mr. Mime tried to use the light screen on the next turn, but one X-Scissor took it out. Next was Sabrina's Alakazam, and I stayed with Psydodo as the Alakazam set up a Reflect. The Reflect was able to bulk the Alakazam up a bit, so Psydodo's X-Scissor wasn't able to one-shot it. The Alakazam failed to kill Psydodo with his Psychic and went down to another X-Scissor. We got the Marsh badge and meandered on in search of the next gym badge. Before challenging Erika, I went back to the Burn Tower at Ecrotake City and captured a Magmar. It was named Madodo. Back at Celadon, it was Psydodo's turn to win us another gym badge. The current level cap is sitting at 54, because that's the cap at Misty's and Brock's gym. So, after Psydodo levels up in this battle, she would be unavailable for us to use in battle until we beat Brock and Misty. While I was off explaining that tidbit of information, Dodo set up 2 sword stances in the beginning of the battle and pretty much one-shotted all of Erica's team. That's 4 badges in total. I finally remembered to rename the Porygon and went back to the name reader. Let's all welcome Gondodo. We picked Polydodo back from the box and evolved it into a Poliwhirl. It would then evolve to its straight counterpart, a Politoed. On our way to solve the power issue at the power plant, we encountered an Electabuzz and captured it. It was named E-Dodo. We then had to go through this unbelievably annoying quest where we had to pursue this foreign Team Rocket member who wasn't aware of the disbandment of Team Rocket. We picked up the plant parts and returned it to the power plant to restore power to many parts of Kanto. With the power back on, the radio tower over at Lavender Town was back in action, and the director gave us the Kanto expansion card for our radio. This means that we could finally go past the Snorlaxes and head to Pewter City where we would challenge Brock. Polydodo made her debut here at Brock's gym, taking the lead against Brock's all Rock-type Pokemon. Brock sent out his Graveler first, which died to a Polydodo Surf immediately. He sent out his Kabutops next, and Polydodo hit first with a Hypnosis, which thankfully didn't miss. Polydodo missed her first Focus Blast while the Kabutops stayed asleep. The second one fortunately hit, one-shotting the fossil Pokemon. Brock's Onix was sent out, but he drowned immediately. The Rhyhorn went through a similar fate, powerless against the brilliance of Polydodo. Brock sent out his Omastar last, and I went for another Focus Blast, which didn't miss this time. The Omastar went down in one shot, and Brock stood no chance at all. We got the Boulder Badge, and we flew back to Cerulean City to challenge Misty. It was Godota's time to shine over at Misty's gym, as he took charge. Misty sent out her Golduck first, and Godota was able to one-shot the Blue Duck with one Thunderbolt. It was a good thing he did too, because the Golduck knew Psychic. Her Quagsire came out, but it died pretty quickly to a Giga Drain. Misty sent her Starmie out next, and for some reason I went with Thunderbolt instead of Shadow Ball. God knows why. The Starmie was able to hang on, and fired off an Ice Beam in return. Godota used Giga Drain to kill it, regaining some health in the meantime. Misty's Lapras was next, and Godota used Thunderbolt once more, taking the Lapras' health down to orange, and paralyzing it in the process. The Lapras did hit her Sing, putting Godota to sleep. Here I switched for Gondodo, which tanked an Ice Beam on the switch-in, losing less than half health. Gondodo fired off a Thunderbolt and downed the Lapras. We got the Cascade Badge and moved on to challenge more gyms. We arrived at Cinnabar Island, but it was absolutely obliterated by a volcano eruption. Blue was there, standing quite dazed. He wasn't interested in fighting us just yet, so he told us to flip off. We went to the Seafoam Islands to find the temporarily built Cinnabar Gym, where we found Blaine. I guess now would be the time to make the customary Blaine is weak joke, but he kind of proved me wrong here. At least his Rapidash did. His Magcargo and Magmar were taken out quite easily, but his Rapidash did paralyze and scored a bunch of bounces on Polydodo. At one point, I even considered switching Polydodo out. But Polydodo managed to score the victory in the end, earning us the 7th Kanto Gym badge. Just one more badge left, so we grinded for a bit before facing off with Blue, who was quite fired up upon learning that we just beat Blaine. We solved the spinny puzzle of Viridian Gym and made our way to Blue, who was raring to go. He sent out his Exeggutor first, and I led with Gododo. Gododo made quick work of the mutant coconut tree with the Shadow Ball, downing it in one go. Next, Blue sent out his Arcanine, and I switched for Geododo, who tanked a Flare Blitz on the switch-in. Geododo took a Dragon Pulse head-on in the next turn, and retaliated with an Earthquake, which one-shotted the Big Fire Doggo. Blue opted for his Gyarados next, and I immediately switched for Polydodo, who has Water Absorb, receiving no damage from the Waterfall. I switched to Gondodo on the next turn, who got hit by a Waterfall anyway, but a Thunderbolt from Gondodo took care of the large angry dragon. His Machamp was next, so I switched back to Gododo, who phased through the Dynamic Punch. Gododo used a Psychic, which almost took out the Machamp, and got hit with a Stone Edge in return, resulting in a pretty heavy hit. Blue chose to heal here, meaning Gododo will have 2 free hits to take out the Machamp. Blue sent out his Rhydon next, and I switched for his natural counter, Polydodo. After surviving that Thunderfang that came out of nowhere, Polydodo safely drowned the one-horned bipedal Rhino. And finally, it was time for Blue's Pidgeot, who caused me a bit of trouble in this battle. I switched to Geododo, and the Pidgeot went for an Air Slash, which took a nice chunk of damage from Geododo, even with a type disadvantage. I took the risk of taking another hit, but it left Geododo flinched. Nice. For once, the RNG was against me in this run. I didn't want to lose Geododo before the red fight, so I switched Psydodo in, who couldn't really tank an Air Slash properly. I spent some time thinking on what to do next, and ultimately decided to sack Alidodo since I wasn't planning on using him for the red fight. So, I sent Alidodo out, and somehow, the Pidgeot went for a mirror move. I didn't want to look at the gift horse in the mouth, so I went with it and used the Choice Scarf boosted Psychic and took it down in one go. With this, we got all the KANTO badges and avoided losing any team members up until this point. Blue begrudgingly gave us the badge, and now we make preparations for Red. Professor Oak gave us a call, and we met up with him at his lab at Pallet Town. He gave us the Rock Climb HM, which was going to be vital in securing key items and the trek to Mount Silver's Peak. First up, we went to the Cerulean Cave and picked up an electrolyzer. We also went to Mount Water and picked up the dubious disc that was just lying around. We took Johto out of the box and evolved him into an Electivire. Johto also went through some tough training and evolved into a Porygon Z. It was time to face Red. So, taking his levels into account, we've set the level cap for 84 instead of 88, since, let's face it, his level 88 Pokemon is Pikachu. His 3 starters leveled at 84 seems like a fair level cap. Of course, the leveling done to reach level 84 is legitimate, as always. Yeah. So here's my team for Red. Johto the Gengar, Polydota the Politoed, Aladota the Alakazam, Johto the Porygon Z, Psyduck the Scizor, and finally, Johto the Electivire. We exited the caves of Mount Silver, bracing the cold snow peppered on our faces. For some reason, this area is called Mount Silver Cave. The side of Red came into view, the mysterious trainer gazing upon the horizon. Our gazes met when he turned, and got ready for a battle without any further words. Red sent out his ace, Pikachu. I responded with my own electric type, Johto. In a surprising turn of events, Johto outsped the Pikachu and one-shotted it with an Earthquake. Red sent out his Snorlax next, and Johto went on and fired off a low kick. It resulted in a crit and one-shotted the Snorlax as well. Luck was on my side so far. The Lapras was up next, and Johto went for a Thunder Punch. It survived with 1 HP, but it got paralyzed in the process. Red opted to heal, and Johto's next Thunder Punch was able to take it down. Johto stood strong as Red's Blastoise came on, and also one-shotted it with a Thunder Punch. What a beastly performance from Johto so far. Red's next Pokemon was his Venusaur, so I switched for Aladotto, putting a stop on Johto's magnificent showing. Aladotto tanked a Sludge Bomb on the switch-in, losing more than half his health, and getting poisoned in the process. With a Hail and Poison, Aladotto was just barely hanging on. Aladotto hit his Psychic and promptly disposed of the overgrown Poison Frog. Then, it was down to Red's last Pokemon, his Charizard. I switched for Polydota, who took a Dragon Pulse hit on the switch-in. Polydota fired off one final Surf, taking the Charizard down and bringing this run to its complete end. Red didn't take the loss very well and disappeared, cueing the credits. This will probably be my last Trade Evolutions video for a while. I'll be experimenting with other types of challenges, so if you guys have any suggestions, do leave it in the comments below. On that note, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.